Hi, my name's Yeadon. I'm doing this video. Cornwall, United Kingdom. Just got interrupted by a phone call. Couldn't include it in the video because it was nothing of interest. So I don't know what I'm going to call the video, but I got my BT upload speed put up yesterday. It all got sorted out after all this time and whatever, and it was done at exactly the right time. I feel everything slotted into place at the right time, and I uploaded 2 short videos yesterday and it just flew up. So I'm going to do this video today and it'll probably be about 30 minutes, and rather than a normal 12 hours we'll see what it takes. But it's going to change my life, and it's not like, wow, it's going to change your life. Well, it is going to change it. Even though it's a simple thing, it will change things and how I do them and how I go forward. And I've said that 2021 is going to be this year of change, and we've got to sit back and watch it because we're going to have no influence over it. And it's going to be a year where, as I've said, evil is exposed, and we've got to sit back and not let it drag us down. You know, like you see a wildebeest being dragged down by a pack of lions. You've got to be that wildebeest in the background, just looking on with interest and go, that ain't me. I'm not that stupid. You know, I moved over there to stay away from that danger. You know, you get where I'm coming from. But you've got this year of change and you can see it coming. And one of the things that made me smile is, not smile, but it's so obvious. You've got this town now in America where the latest guy's been shot, the latest black guy, and it was a policewoman. And it's all over the news. And there's been some peaceful demonstrations. And you can actually see they are not peaceful. They're not peaceful. Policemen are getting hurt, there's shots being fired, fireworks, rockets are being fired at the cops, bricks are being thrown at them. Police are firing CS gas. The streets are absolutely full of CS gas. It's flying thick and fast. Brooklyn, that's the town, isn't it? In Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota. Anyway, so not a town that rolls off your lips, is it? You know, it's not a world famous town. It's just a small town, America. Anyway, the cop resigned. Don't look good for her. The cop's resigned. So her police chief, he's given the report the next day. He's like there in front of the press saying, you know, she's resigned, and from our first examination of the films, it's all a tragic mistake, blah blah blah. And it might seem that this one is actually. Anyway, the reporters flew at him. What? Because he said, you know, there's no need for this riot because we're going to deal with it. You know, we're going to sort it out, see what is, see what's what, and there's no need for this riot that's been going on. Well, the reporters flew at him. All the reporters in New York, they flew at him. What do you mean a riot? It was a peaceful demonstration. But we've seen the videos. Well, that's the reality of 2021. That's going to be typical. You're going to hear these things that aren't the reality. And we know what the big one is, you know, the lockdowns and all that. And I got suspended. I'm very, very lucky that I didn't get banned. Like I said, I'm very, very lucky that all my stuff hasn't disappeared. Because I'll talk about someone whose stuff is just gone. And the guy I was talking about in the video, I was looking at something last night. I was checking up something medical to see if there's a possible video there. And all of a sudden I noticed this video. This guy sat in his like workshop garage. Big workshop, big garage. And he's just sat in a chair in the middle of the garage. And then I started reading it. It's only the guy I talked about in the video that got me suspended. The guy who used to be the head of Pfizer for 30 years. And it's all what he said. Hey, what a nice guy. What a very intelligent guy. Now, I could do a video. Intelligent man versus the cock of Han, Matt Hancock. There's no way Matt Hancock would want to meet this guy and talk to him. Because he's there in his garage, in his workshop, and he's sat on his little chair. This man who was the head of Pfizer for 30 years, CEO, and he tells you so much stuff you've not heard. And I ain't going to say it, because I'll get picked up and get banned. But he tells you so much stuff. Now the question, you have to ask yourself the question, why is it up? Why is it still there? It only had 7,700 hits and it's been there a month. It's been there since the end of January, so if I remember correctly. But it's only had 7,700 hits. Even if it's only been there a few weeks, it should have more. So it's obviously been surrounded. And you think to yourself, why is it still there? Why are people being banned for voicing an opinion in a common tone, a common words, everyday words? We're not educated, people are doing this, and then you've got the educated people as well. I think Thomas Sheridan's been suspended. I read something. So why is it still there? And this is the confusing thing. If you say something of your own opinion, because you've been and looked at videos, you've listened to people, and then you've got that gut instinct that something's not right, and then you're looking at Matt Hancock and you're thinking, I'd never believe a word that man said. I would never believe anything that came out of that man's mouth. How his children feel, I don't know. I don't know how old his kids are. I'm going to have to look him up on Wikipedia and see how old his kids are. But if his kids are in late teens, mid-teens, how do they feel looking at their dad? So, I'm going to put you a link to his video, this intelligent man. Go and listen to it. It's well worth listening to. And because he's quiet and he's not like shouting and screaming, people might find it boring, but it's what he says. It's what he says about the government, the people in charge, the scientists. This is a man who was the head of Pfizer for 30 years. Listen to what he says. And then ask yourself, why is the video still up? What the hell's going on? So, we're living in this mad world. One of the mad things that came up the other day, I was watching, was Fukushima. The Japanese are going to release 1 million gallons of water into the sea. Because when it all got swamped, seawater, it swamped into the nuclear facility, then it went out to sea. But then it was overheating, it was doing what it was doing, it was spewing out stuff, it was on fire, just like with the Ukraine. And they had to cool it down with water, whereas the Ukrainians buried it in concrete. They had to get all the rubble off the roof, all the rubble from outside, throw it in, just throw it in. They've got this like furnace of nuclear heat, and they just covered it in concrete. Well, the Japanese, they cooled it down with water, but they had to build these tanks. So there's like loads and loads of tanks all around it. If another tidal wave come, it'd take out the tanks. So you've got these tanks, loads of them, full of water that's cooled down the nuclear reactor. And the Japanese have said it's safe. So we're just going to release this 1 million tonnes of water into the sea. Because they've probably got no more room to build tanks. So they're going to empty them into the sea. And you think, am I daft or what? Does that sound safe? What's going on? Well, you've just got to sit back and go, you haven't got the power to do anything about it. When I always waited for a story to appear about when Fukushima happened, like the tidal wave in Japan. All the rubbish went into the sea. And they were talking about this island, this huge gigantic island of rubbish and bodies and people that would float across the Pacific, and it'd be radioactive. There'd be some radioactivity in it. But the fact is, there was loads of rubbish from the whole coastline. Cars, all sorts, houses, the lot. And they said that it had hit the west coast of America. And do you know what? I never heard a thing. I was waiting for the big story to come about this island of rubbish that would circle the north of the Pacific and then hit the west coast. I never heard a thing about it, because it was debris, it was going to happen. So this 1,000,000 tons of water is going to go into the circulation of the Pacific Ocean, and it'll disperse. But it'll disperse as it moves across the Pacific. And you just think to yourself, am I mad? It doesn't sound safe. But the Japanese have said it's okay. They've thought about it, they've took a decision, and they've decided it's safe. And the Chinese are kicking off. Proper kicking off. But they're going to do it. And so be it, so be it. It is what it is. And that's what it is with America as well. As it's collapsing, we can see it collapsing. We can see it. And you've got to think, so be it. It is what it is. It's going to happen. So be it. They're not in charge. The people aren't in charge. And it's like the people of Japan. They'll be like, oh God, what can we do? 1,000,000 tons of radioactive water. Well, it is what it is. So be it. So I'm going to give you a video. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit here about there's something changing. You can see there's something changing, and in the world, in America, this country, Europe, there's something changing. And I was talking to somebody in an email the other day, and I said the Chinese have signed this huge, gigantic deal with Iran, regardless of sanctions, because anybody who deals with Iran has been told that they're going to be sanctioned by America. It's like the Germans. German companies have been told, if you have anything to do with the Russian pipeline, the gas pipeline, you're going to be sanctioned. You're going to be put on the sanction list, and you're not going to be able to do any business in America. And yet the Chinese have signed this huge, gigantic deal with Iran as though they're not bothered about America. It's as though America is irrelevant in their thought process. And you think to yourself, what do they know that we don't know about why America in the future, with their threat of sanctions on anyone who deals with Iran, is an irrelevance? Why aren't they? They've got no reason to be scared of America, but why is it that they don't seem to care? And you think to yourself, what do they know that we don't know about what's coming in America? And when America goes bust financially, all the Chinese have got to do is go in and buy up things. That's all they've got to do, and then they own it. They don't have to invade it. You just buy it. And they won't be the only ones buying up a bankrupt America. You've got all that oil money of the Saudis just sat there waiting. It's just sat there waiting. And after the American Civil War, you had a person who was called a carpetbagger, and it was people riding south on their horses or in a buggy, and they had a bag. You used to call them carpet bags. They were made out of like carpet material, like hard wearing, whatever, weatherproof. And the carpetbaggers just rode south on the little ponies, whatever, with a bag of money. and they started buying up the Confederacy cheap. So it's been done before. Carpetbaggers, that's where the term carpetbaggers comes from. You come and bag a bargain with the cash because the Confederacy is broke. Well, that is the position America is going to be in soon, and the carpetbaggers are going to move in, and it's going to be their own hedge funds as well. You know, all the financial investors outside of America, and that's how America will be conquered, by carpetbaggers. And it's going to be interesting. And when the press don't admit that a riot is a riot, and they say it's a peaceful demonstration, you just know you're never going to hear the truth. It's going to be all lies. And it's like in the video I did a few weeks ago where they said you've got Mitch McConnell and all the Republicans, and they're all there as though Trump never happened, as though it's now Republicans and Democrats, and we're there speaking for the Republican people, and we're fighting now for the next election. That's what we're doing now. We're scoring brownie points. We're scoring points. We're getting gold stars on our tick board. We want the American people to remember all our speeches and what we've done for them, ready for the next election. It's business as usual. Republicans, Democrats, Democrats, Republicans. Well, it's not. They're not speaking for anybody because they're not admitting to anything that's going on. The Republicans aren't saying nothing about many subjects that they should be talking about. They're just ignoring it because all they're bothered about is that cycle of elections and sound bites and going on TV with favoured newscasters who ask the right questions. Remember that in iRobot, where they were asking the artificial intelligence? You had that, you had the 3D image of the professor, and Will Smith is asking him questions and he's not answering. Then all of a sudden he asked a question, and all this activity come. The artificial intelligence and the 3D image of the professor who'd been murdered comes up, and this professor, the 3D image goes, now that's the right question. And he starts talking. The artificial intelligence, the memory of this professor, starts answering questions because the right question has been asked. All the other questions were ignored. Well, that's what you've got now in American politics. The right questions aren't being asked. The right subjects aren't being tackled. And they're not thinking of the people. They're just thinking of the election cycle, and they know that a section of people just will never ever vote Democrat. So they're going to vote for them anyway. And even if they lose, it doesn't matter. They'll still be in power as senators or congressmen. All right, a few will fall by the wayside. But the ones who have that, what should we call them? They'll vote Republican anyway. The donkeys, they'll do it. They'll vote out of fear of a Democrat winning. That's what politics is based on. A lot of people don't like their candidate. They don't like the person they voted for, but they fear the other person, the other party. It works both ways, and they just can't live with themselves if that other person gets in. So they have to go out and vote. Even if the other person does get in, at least they voted to try and stop him. Whereas they should say, no, you're both shit. I'm not voting for either of you. But it is what it is. That's politics. So I'm going to talk about another guy who got banned. Corbett. James Corbett. He's not just been suspended. He's been banned. His whole channel has gone. All his videos have gone. People's comments, yes. Think of, he's like made 1,800 videos, I think, 1,600 videos on his Corbett Report channel. Think of all the comments that have gone. People's wisdom. People's cantankerousness. How many times have you gone and looked at an interesting video and you've read through the reports and you've learned something? Or somebody's given a bit of information about another video and you've gone and watched it and you thought, oh, I'm glad I saw that. Well, you only saw that because you read through the comments. So it's probably got 1 million comments that have gone. And if we say 10% of them are wisdom, well, that's a lot of wisdom that's disappeared from YouTube. But in this video, it's quite interesting. He's not bitter because he has been saying for a long time, YouTube can't put up with him anymore because he won't buckle, he won't bend. And he speaks what he thinks, and he speaks and he gives the information out what he thinks the people need to know. And he said it won't be tolerated by YouTube. They'll get rid of me, and they have got rid of him. And he's not bitter. He's organised himself because this is his profession, this is his job. And he's very good at it. And as he explains, he does this mild conversation for about 26 minutes, 27 minutes, and it's really interesting to listen to him. And he says that when he sat down at his computer, he just did a simple video one day in 2007. He said, I'm just doing a simple video. He said, I thought I'd like start a bit of a blog, and it'd be nothing like, it'd just be a hobby. And he said, and then all of a sudden it just escalated because his first video was on 9/11. Because he'd watched a video on YouTube and he'd learned something that he never knew about 9/11 in 2007. He accepted the narrative of the politicians and everybody about 9/11, and then he watched something that to him proved that what the politicians and the mainstream media said happened couldn't have happened. So he researched it. And a lot of research now is done on YouTube. People move about YouTube looking for people's opinions and information. It's like that first video I gave you. The guy who was the head of Pfizer for 30 years. That's information that you won't get anywhere else. And it's a different opinion from the sources, the government sources, the science sources and the mainstream media. Just a guy sat in his garage, and listening to him, my gut instinct is that everything he says is right. But it's stuff I've been saying anyway, with his opinion on why they're doing it. That's his opinions. But his facts and information on what he knows as a scientist and as a guy who's the head of Pfizer, well, I trust him over Matt Hancock. I trust this guy in his garage over Matt Hancock in Westminster. And Boris Johnson in number 10. For me, the guy in the garage is more truthful and trusting. So Corbett, he does this really interesting video, and he shows you, he talks about his history on YouTube and how it was a brilliant place for people to learn things and people to express their opinions. And how free it was, and he shows the front cover of a magazine, Time magazine. Now Time magazine has Man of the Year, or like a famous picture from a battle or something, or a woman, a sportswoman achieving something. It always has they go to a lot of thought in what they do with that front cover on Time magazine. Anyway, he shows you this copy. He's got a copy of 2006 Time magazine in the cover. What it is, it's got like a mirror, a reflective surface. Person of the Year, you, on YouTube. And what Time did was they did a story, a report on the coming of YouTube, its coming of age, and how people are making it function. People sharing information, people showing you stuff. It's like on YouTube, you can go and build an house. You can learn how to build an house. There was a guy in the paper last year. His wife, it took him 10 years, but he built this fantastic bungalow in the garden. He had a big garden, so he built a bungalow, and he did the lot. He did everything, and he wouldn't let his missus and kids. His kids grew up with this building site in the garden, and he wouldn't let them move in till he finished. But he did everything, and he learned everything off YouTube. Bricklaying, joinery, floor tiling, plumbing, roofing, the lot. He learnt a lot on YouTube. And that's what this Time magazine was like saying in 2006. And he said, look how it's changed from them days. He said Google bought YouTube, and straight away he said, oh, we're not going to change it, YouTube will still be YouTube. But it's not, is it? Because we've seen that from the if you look at Google as the parent company, so it's Google, YouTube is Google. So if you look at it, and the Senate hearings, congressional hearings, whatever they were, Congress or Senate, but if you look at the hearings into where they had the head of Google, they had Jack Dorsey of Twitter, and they had Zuckerberg of Facebook, and they had the Indian guy from Google. They're the three guys, and they've totally, since that Time cover, they've turned the world around. They've turned the world round, or should I say, they've turned the Western world, the capitalist world, around, and they are now starting to suspend and ban people because something is coming, and that's the feeling I'm getting. Something is coming. And that's why they want this new set of people banned, suspended. That's why my suspension is 3 months. They're not messing around anymore. It's not a week anymore. It's 3 months. July the 18th I come back. And when they suspended me just a couple of days before the election, I'll be on a list or whatever, you know, it is what it is. They don't know me personally. An algorithm has placed me on a list, and I'm like a low threat or whatever. But then either an algorithm's picked up something I said, or somebody's complained about me, because that's the way it works. There's a human factor, there's the algorithm, but you can bet your life that these people are funding, in a way, people to watch us. And I'm going to put a dust video of a future society where there's no police. There are no police in this future society, and it's Australia. And you can actually see Australia going like this, because this is what Dale talks about with how they're building the schools. They're building the schools, they're building the hospitals, they're building new buildings based on smart computers, smart cities, smart buildings, where there'll be police through cameras, people will be observed through cameras. So this is like, it's not a spoof, it is a spoof, but it's only a short dust video, and it's about when the people police the people. And Australia has got rid of its police, and I'm not going to tell you any more about it. It's only a short video, go watch it. And you can actually see this coming, because people are policing YouTube, they're policing Twitter, and people are policing YouTube by watching videos and then complaining. What the algorithm misses, they're complaining, and they're getting people thrown off and suspended. But there's a new phase coming to it, where men are going to be thrown off YouTube, because a lot of men give opinions on YouTube. If you think about, if we just look at one category of like conspiracy, I'd say 1 in 10 of the conspiracy channels, or people who talk about controversial things, 1 out of 10 will be women, because it's a man thing. Because the man gets home from work, he has his tea, whatever, and then he gets on the computer and he does his stuff while she's watching TV or she's chatting to her mates. And that's generalising. I'm only generalising, but it is a fact that it's mainly men that talk about these things. So now the feminists are going after the men. And I'm going to put you a video up of a guy called Mission, and he's a really amiable